pretty major gas leak uptown, but got to run it out.
Didn't show up as bad as not.
I'm fine. How about you?
So we're going to go and then we're going to get ready
I know the
for
name.
taking not
Is Woody's up there?
Okay.
They work on my folks are having a remodel done on their house. I took Bryce Ocean. They were doing all the framing and the plywood, and I told the guy to do it. And I said, well, I'm slow this
so
weekend
it's the
off.
second largest cruise ship
I think they're trying to kill me too. This
uh-huh.
whole guy, and it's easy to I'm getting a reprieve this morning by having this meeting. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's good though. They're working out. Stretching
and
it.
they had a good like that. So excited. My boss is saying, so I'm happy to check in, but I'm not being that. And I'm happy to check out too.
Nice touch. That's a nice touch, but also on my recycle bin, there was a little thing. And I thought I was maybe I'd go in there and it wasn't, but it was just telling me, hey, your pickup date's going to change. So many people do that on the garbage. What happened is put some glass or angles or bag and have the
We're in a community that doesn't want something. We actually
Yes, you are the clear winner of this process.
all that stuff's free too. You could always see Miss King's house next door.
That's what, you know what, Carol has picked up stuff for us people off our front porch. That was her new business.
I think she's having fun.
She can't help but what's going on.
That was her office building again.
And it was a nice setup that Planning had where you could put your little bullets in the, it was like, well done. It really was. Yeah.
I didn't get to come, but I'm extremely.
It was nice. Little sunshine next time?
Yes. I have it in my hand.
We enjoyed it. Yeah, we got the invitation, but we got the invitation from the church. And I said to the man out in the street, I said, well, let's go Wednesday night. Was it Tuesday night or Wednesday night? I said, let's go. You know, like every time you have something, I was out of town this past weekend. I know you had your anniversary. And are you preaching at Calvary Sunday?
Yeah.
Somebody had told me you was, but maybe. Yeah.
I want to go Sunday. I did say I wanted to go.
Mm.
Morning, John. How are you?
Because I have that lady coming in, she
I thought we were going to get new iPads, didn't we? Oh, really? I didn't get one. Oh. So, who gave that? Did Karen give you that one? I don't know if Rick got one. Everett got one, looks like. Mm-hmm. Good morning. We're going to call our meeting to order. I'd like to welcome you this morning to our meeting, and I would ask if you have cell phones to please put them on silence. We will stand and have prayer, pledge of allegiance by Councilmember Joyce, and prayer by Councilmember Jim Malinowski.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow with me. Eternal God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather in service to our city. Remind us that every voice matters and help us to seek the good of all people in our care. Grant us wisdom to weigh our choices carefully and vision to see how today's decisions will echo into the future. May our work honor the trust placed in us and leave a blessing for generations to come. Amen.
Amen. All our council members are present this morning. Minutes for review call meeting of August 11th, 2025. We get a nod to put this on our consent agenda for meeting in September. Okay, topics for discussion. CVB annual report. Jennifer Rosa. Jennifer, are you ready?
Thank you so much, Mayor and Council, for having me. And this is my annual report, so hopefully you all are kind of used to. Thank you, Monica. To the format that we have it of going through our peso investments, which are of course paid, earned, social, and owned advertising investments. So of course, I'm Jennifer Rosa Leon, the Executive Director of the Madison-Morgan County Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is the official destination marketing organization for the city of Madison. And we work to inspire tourists to come, stay, and participate in our local tourism economy. And let's make sure I have this on. And I saw you all have a packed agenda, so I'll try to go through it pretty quickly. So this is the board that we had for previous fiscal year. We are on the same fiscal year as you all, starting July 1st of 2024 through the end of June 2025 is what this report goes over for our annual results. And we'll just start with our paid advertising initiatives. So of course, for our paid advertising, we do our traditional advertising, such as billboards, the banners over, for example, the Visitor Information Center for the state in Augusta, magazines, and we also have been really focusing a lot more on digital advertising in particular. We did a big overhaul of our website to make it mobile first a few years back, and we've been really investing in search engine optimization and also paid methods to grow that website so that there's more attention for potential visitors to Madison. So with that, we had paid Google ads, which received over 3 million impressions, 83,000 clicks, and 9,000 tracked active user sessions. Of course, you'll notice that this fiscal year, there are going to be some changes in numbers that are down, where we did have that shortfall in our budget of around $20,000. So those are different cuts that we made in different areas, which does include that usual kind of winter campaign that we do in our Google searches. Okay. At Earned Media, this has been one of our highest performers, so this is one that we really maintained our investment because we see it as a big win in Madison, and we always overperform. We have a really, really great performance record for our public relations efforts, and in fiscal year 25, they generated 1.66 billion impressions. So that's how many times our different articles have potential to be seen in different publications, whether it be print or online. It is mostly online, and that's exceeding our goal by over 1,000%. That per dollar is a 943 to 1 return on investment, and almost $1 million in advertising value equivalency, which is how much we think those ads would cost if we actually paid for them as opposed to getting them through hosting media and having them write about our area. Via media outreach and 20 media visits in the partnership with Destination Partners, the PR team secured 65 national, regional, and local stories in top outlets, including Country Living, which named Madison one of its top small towns for 2025. It was a really big win for us. And we also tried something new, which is the Southeast Tourism Society has a media marketplace. So we had Madison represented there to be able to meet with journalists and make new relationships and opportunities, meeting with 37 media, including staff editors, freelance writers. As soon as that was over, we already got really great coverage in Convention South, which is a small meetings magazine. And we've hosted editors, for example, from Magnolia and Moonshine, which is going to be coming out in a really great spread in that magazine. And we have, pitched to be able to keep growing those relationships to hopefully host more media. So that is really something where we want to continue to invest and keep up because it does do so great for us. So this just goes into some of those, big wins that we have. Of course, World's Greatest Places with Time was huge. That's something we've been going after for a few years, and with Georgia Safari Conservation Park, that's what clicked, and that has really helped with our organic search for our website as well. Some other big wins, hosting Southern Living Writer is a big one. That goes into earned media. Social media, this is one that the numbers are down. This is one that did have to take a bit of a balance to be able to maintain other areas. So we did not meet our goals fully for our social media. One of those things that we did to help with that shortfall in our budget is we did pause on that marketing role. That is my main support up until September. And then, so we didn't really have a great dedicated person to help with maintaining that frequency until we could get her up to speed in October. But we did do really, really well. And you'll see from the numbers, we did an amazing job with our new social media person. We actually had a 22% follower goal increase for our Facebook, and for Instagram we're up 12%. So that's actually the best year on record for follower growth with our Facebook, and that was through a reel that our new social media person did, which she did an amazing job. And we saw like almost 2,000 people increase after this one reel that went almost viral. So you can just kind of see the difference in investing in social media and a really dedicated person to be able to keep up that frequency. As October and the later months go, that the numbers just get higher. But we do have really great reach with Facebook at 928.7 thousand. So again, that's potential people that could have seen different posts or paid ads that we do on Facebook. And with with Instagram, our reach is 39.4 thousand. We did have a goal of 50,000, so we were just at about 78% of our goal. Really, to be able to meet that, we just need to be able to invest more money in paid ads for it. And this just kind of shows some of those top performing posts. You can see that post about the safari park had 590,000 views, so that was really amazing for us. And it was a reel. And then Pinterest, this is one that we really go after more organic. And we focus on building organic content and audience, and that had 31,000 impressions. When you go into our own assets, of course, the biggest thing is our website. Visit madisongeorgia.com, where we're maintaining that search engine optimization. We have a different article that's updated every single week of the year to be able to be pushed out on Facebook and get a lot of attention to hopefully engage people and inspire them to want to come to Madison. We also maintain a comprehensive events calendar for Madison and Morgan County and individual landing pages for our attractions, our shops, our restaurants, so that people know all the things that they can do here. Our sessions, again, are up this year. A lot of that is really helping with organic. You can see that big boost in around February. That's when we started our spring paid campaign, which really, of course, helps drive people to the website to learn about it. And we're at almost 170,000 sessions to our website. So that's visitors to our websites, engaging with it, clicking through pages and such. And that is a really big increase. So if we just compare that to pre-pandemic with the old website, we were around 70,000 sessions a year back in 2019. And so, again, it's over 100% increase. It's really, really growing, and we're really proud of that to show that, hey, this is a great resource for people. And then just looks into different breakdowns and, sessions, total users, page views, and average engagement time is a little bit down. I think that's just maybe where, I'm not sure if it's maybe our content is better and they're not having to click through as much, or it could be that maybe the audience that we're doing our paid ads to aren't as targeted as they were previously. We did have to use a different vendor to fit within our price range. And then this just looks at the breakdown of where are those visitors coming from. So the most are direct. You see that had a huge upsurge from the previous year. The previous year is light blue. And then our organic also had a little bit of a hit. There's not as much as organic as direct. So to me, that makes me think that it's especially coming from those PR articles and things that people are searching for us directly. They've heard about Madison and they're like, what can I do there? I want to go. And then you can see our cost per click, which is that second to bottom one, is down where we just did not have as much money to invest. These just show some of our top performing pages. Of course, dining and events, what are there things to do here? And then our Welcome Center, that number, again, we are pretty flat with that, 9,300 visitors, not much change from the previous fiscal year. We do maintain that open 360 days a year. We also participated in Main Street's Fifth Fridays program to stay open later. And one of the things we really pride ourselves is that quality of service that we give to our visitors that come in, and we range that by our TripAdvisor rating. So again, we do maintain that 5-bubble rating on TripAdvisor, and we're number 1 of 16 things to do in Madison according to TripAdvisor. So really great accolades for my staff and what a great job they do in welcoming people and sharing what all there is to do here. E-newsletter, this was something we created a few years back. We grew our subscribers up to 3,425. That's a 21% increase. And we do have an open rate above the industry average with a 50% open rate. So again, people interested and engaged in wanting to learn what there is to do. And just some of the other things that we do, for example, we participate in regional travel associations. So I just finished up my 2-year term as the chair of Georgia's Lake Country. And then I also serve as the vice chair of Georgia's Trail of Legacy and Lore. We work as your official camera-ready liaison, so we had over 13 film requests, and then of course just those different leadership conferences and things that we work to be able to make sure that we are on top of best practices and what's happening for tourism marketing. And that really kind of goes through it. If you all have any questions, I know it's a lot of information.
Thanks, Jennifer, for that
That's it.
report. Appreciate that.
Of
Thank you.
course.
Are there any questions for Jennifer?
I had a comment, Mayor.
Sure.
My Google feed has great stuff on Madison all the time. The algorithm has definitely ID'd me as someone that is interested in Madison. But even just yesterday, I think something from the Augusta Courier or something about eight cutest towns in the South or Georgia. I mean, I get those all the time. It's really very impressive.
Yeah.
And I think it makes a difference. Could you be good enough to, I know your report is for the last fiscal year, could you send me or send us a list of the current officers of your board?
Absolutely, I'm happy to
Yeah.
do that.
I'd appreciate that. And then I think you've got an event coming up in September. Did you want to mention that at all at Empire Mills? I unfortunately am going to have to decline. I'm going to be out of the
Yes.
country. But
Oh, I hate that you won't be able to come in. But yes, so this is an initiative as part of our 3-year strategic plan. We wanted to do more kind of grassroots marketing effort we wanted to try. So it's our Wild About Tourism Day. And all of our mayor and city council members did get an invitation where we are hoping to be able to have you all come and participate. For people that haven't been to the safari park before, the safari park is really great and doing morning and an afternoon tour that people can participate in, so that people know what this amazing new huge attraction that we have that's, you know, time's best, because we just realized a lot of people in the community haven't experienced the safari yet, and it really opens up a new target market for us, because that's a lot more families with children, which Madison really hasn't had as much visitors in previously. So we want to really share about that, get excited about it, and celebrate tourism in general. So at Empire Mills, we're doing a lunch and learn. We have our attractions invited to have exhibitors booths so that people can chat with them and kind of learn what they're doing and make those connections. And then we'll also have me on the stage to be able to tell a little bit more about, you know, the numbers of tourism, why tourism matters, and hopefully get them excited about it. So yeah, it's we hope you can all come. I'm sorry, of course, that you'll be out of the country, but it's really just going to be a big thing to celebrate tourism, to get people excited about this great new tourism asset that we have, and, you know, hopefully grow a little grassroots marketing.
that was the 22nd, I think?
22nd of September. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thanks again. Appreciate that report.
Yes, comment just to say the website is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It's really nice. It looks really user friendly. You know, I really like it. You just sort of get little blurbs everywhere you kind of hop around. So it's really nice.
Yeah, well, and I heard that you used to be a travel writer, so I was a journalism major, and I'm like, I love that we have so much content now, because I think it makes it really easy, hopefully, for people to see, like, there's so much more to do. We're not just a day trip, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. City manager topic, John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 3 or 4 items for your consideration today. First of all, I just wanted to mention 2 events that I was able to go to this weekend. I represented the city at the county's ribbon cutting of the new recreation center, and even though it was terrible rain, there was a huge crowd, and it was just so impressive to see all the young kids and the families and the grandparents there and whatever, and it's going to be such a great asset for not only everyone in the county, but certainly also for Madison residents as well. So I just wanted to mention that. I also had an opportunity to attend our planning department's function this weekend for urban redevelopment, and it was so impressive, beside the weather. And Monica was there, and Molly, and Jill, and I'm sure I'm forgetting someone, but the way you had it set up was masterful. And there were young families there with a mom and dad and the kids and whatever, and everyone's going around from station to station or whatever, and so it was just really well done. And so I wanted to applaud the efforts of our planning department for that. Now that the elections have been decided, we want to focus on a council retreat, and I just wanted to float some dates out there, possibly the first couple of weeks of November, and just simply ask, before we get too deeply into this, if you're going to be away on a family holiday or vacation or something like that, and that doesn't work for you, it's critically important that the entire council be at the retreat or whatever. So if you could look at your calendar and see what the first couple of weeks of November look like, and if there are better days or worse days, let me know, and we'll see if we can get a consensus in that regard. I also have a call in to Adam Mestris over at the county, because they just finished their every 2-year retreat. And I want to talk to him about how it went and what worked and what didn't work, and what their setup was and that type of thing, and what their issues were that were raised. We might want to piggyback on some of the issues that they raised at their retreat. So I'll be talking to Adam on that. The next item is that we're finally through the complexity of the property that will house our new fire station, and I applaud Gene was supposed to be here, he just got called out, but I applaud Chief Pennington and Gene Porter for their hard work, and obviously the extraordinary generosity of one individual that has been working with the city, that and we'll recognize that at a later date. But the funding source of the new fire station was SPLOST. This was announced as one of our projects that would be funded through the new SPLOST round, and so we're going to be off and running, and a new fire station is definitely in the near future. So we'll be working very closely with them. I also want to pick, if I could, for a second on Bob. I see Bob here, and I don't know, and I don't even know, I think you've mentioned it to me a couple times, your background in fire, but Bob has been a consistent supporter of our volunteer firefighters, and I've seen some of your postings on social media, and some volunteer firefighters have mentioned to me that they've noticed it, and I just wanted to thank you publicly for your support. And then the next item I want to raise is we're beginning the process of analysis of our property that's known as the former rec center. It's owned by the city, isn't used by the city. We have been contacted regularly and consistently by, I know our school folks, at least for the last 2 years, and Monica, you'd know better than I have, but maybe even further back than that.
I got a contact last week, I need to talk with you about that.
Yeah. And so our schools are very interested in this property. There are also other entities, both private entities and other public entities that are. But we first need to do an evaluation of whether it is deemed surplus, whether we think that there's a present or projected future municipal use for this building. And if we thereafter determine that it's surplus, and I think a pretty strong argument might be made that it is, we're not using it, that we can go through a process and work with folks that are interested and ultimately dispose of the property. But I just wanted to mention that I'll be working with Monica and the planning department and others on getting that going. At some point, we'll have to do an appraisal to get the value of the property and whatever, and then come back to the council, let you know what we found out, and if we get the green light, then we would enter in negotiations and put it out and see what we have. But it is a sought-out property because of its location, not by us, but by other entities or whatever. So it'd be nice to bring some closure to that whole issue. That's kind of just been hanging there. And I think that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much,
Yep.
John. Appreciate it. Urban redevelopment plan, Mayor Pro Tem Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning.
Good morning.
The update for the urban urban redevelopment plan is as follows. Open houses were held in both URAs on August the 23rd. Thank you to council members Blanton, Malinowski, and Wagenhauser, as well as Manager Clem, for joining us throughout the day. A summary of feedback will be available via the project website by 5 p.m. today. Neighborhood surveys are being distributed by the Housing Opportunity Commission, Community Engagement and Outreach Committee to approximately 1,000 households in both URAs over the next week. Thank you to the Housing Opportunity Commission for your assistance, as well as joining us during the open houses. The PAGs, which is the Project Advisory Groups, have been established, the full list of which is available on the project webpage. Thank you to the individuals serving on the PAGs for dedicating your invaluable time to this effort. The first PAG meetings will be held next Tuesday, September the 2nd, during which they will be focused on establishing plan goals and assessing existing conditions. The second PAG meeting will be held on Tuesday, September the 16th, during which they will be focused on crafting preliminary recommendations. Thank you all. Are there any questions?
Could you give us the times of those two meetings you mentioned in September?
I cannot, but Molly can.
The East Madison Project Advisory Group will meet at 11, and the South Madison URA Project Advisory Group will meet at 12:30.
Okay. And then this is the advisory group, but the public is welcome to attend. Is that?
Please come.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Reed, for that.
Thank you.
Transfer of properties, Monica.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm not going to have a flashy presentation for you like Jennifer. She just knocks it out of the park, doesn't she? But I do have a number of items that we are bringing to fruition. So we're pleased to be able to mark several things off the list, hopefully after your next council meeting. So I've got several items in a row, and I'll just go through them each one at a time, and if you have questions, just stop me as we go, because I'm really looking for your feedback. We're prepared. Most of these are follow-through on existing agreements. So I'll start with the first one. The transfer of properties for the Boys and Girls Club. As you're aware, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even longer than that, the agreement was the BOE had surplus property. They had deep conversations with the Downtown Development Authority about being the urban renewal agency for them as well, and deciding what to do with that surplus piece of property. We've discussed it several times in front of y'all in terms of how the transfer had to work, and eventually that did get transferred. So the DA's responsibility is to devolve that property back onto the tax records over time. We did receive, I think they got 5 parcels altogether, and then 4 of those have already been disposed of to the public. They went through the URA advertisement procedure, and 1 of those went to Habitat, 3 of those went to private builders, Leon Peters, Ivy Henry, a combination of that. So those first 4 parcels have been disposed of. Just so you know, DDA isolates any funds associated with the sale of property for the Board of Education into a separate fund, or I shouldn't say fund, that's the finance department will get me, into a separate account, so that, that there will be full accountability to the Board of Education of how the DDA guided their property once they're done with it. They don't want to have any criticism that comes back at them that they commingled it with funds that they garner off of their property or off of city or county proceeds or anything like that. So BOE's funds are isolated into a specific account, and they're very careful about that. So 4 of those parcels have been disposed of. Then the DDA proceeded to consolidate, make one big survey, and then crack it back out. And so the first crack out of that is the Boys and Girls Club site. If you'll remember, there were 3 commitments that the DDA and the BOE agreed to. The first one was to not board up and fence up the whole facility. And that was why they improved it a little bit before they left for GMC to be able to occupy it immediately. The second one was to provide a site for the Boys and Girls Club if they decided to stay. Wasn't a given then. Now we all know that they've put in $3.5 million. And then the final thing was to accommodate the preservation of the Pearl Burney name in some way that has taken a life of its own as a museum. However, the first piece that we have to crack out and roll out is the Boys and Girls Club. The city and the planning department facilitated a $750,000 grant to match the $3.5 million that the Boys and Girls Club put into their facility. In doing so, they assume that they're going to get the benefit of that eventually. So this is part of the legal process to set that up. So the first thing we do is we're transferring back a 1-point-something acre tract to the city. The reason you have to hold that is because of the grant conditions. We'll set it up so the next piece you'll see is you'll turn around and lease the property back to the DDA, who will be the landlord who will lease it to the Boys and Girls Club for a 10-year period. So today I'm presenting to you the transfer of that 1-acre property that has been devised and will be recorded back to you for you to hold. That is the only thing that will appear on your asset list, and you have to hold it for 10 years. And at the end of the 10 years, we will have the lease devolve that to the Boys and Girls Club for the $3.5 million that they've put into the facility, and they will own their own facility. And there will be a note somewhere in big letters on Molly's forehead to remind someone that you cannot transfer the property or get rid of it to the close of the CDBG period. And this is why I'm very eager to work with John on the gym issue, because we've got the same problem that happened with Municipal Park. Nobody remembered that we had a grant there in the 1970s that prohibited the transfer of land, and now we have to resolve that. So there will be a big note. Y'all will hold it for 10 years, and then you will, the lease will set up the terms of it so that if none of you are here, somebody will remember that, and the terms will be pre-negotiated. So today I'm asking for you to place it on the consent agenda to accept the 1 acre, subject to the lease back that would be to be drafted and approved by the city attorney and the DDA's attorney, and it will come back to you.
The council member have a problem with putting it on the consent agenda for our next meeting? Okay, cool. If we would put that on that consent agenda. Thank you. Thanks, Monica.
Does the 1 acre have a building on it? I'm looking at the map and I'm a little.
Sure. I also brought plats, if anybody wanted to take a focus look at it, but it is, when I have it at the council meeting, I will highlight it. This map has more lines on it than.
Tell me about it.
I know, it is really hard to read.
Wow.
So, Eric, there are 3 buildings on the plat that are indicative of what BOE transferred to the city and then to the DDA. If it's this one, if you'll circulate that. It includes, as we would refer to it, the old ag shop is what Boys and Girls Club was in. It included the big gym, or sometimes referred to as the brick gym, when they decided they wanted to include that. It also includes the old technical building, the square brick building. And so those are the 3 assets that BOE had on the ground, and a little bitty greenhouse that kind of went away. So those 3 assets. Now, one of the things that we did do is the DDA's accountant took the asset that was overvalued on the tax rolls. It hadn't been fixed in years because reassessment of public property is not the highest goal out there. It was on their tax rolls at like $13 million or something, and I think Karen nearly had a heart attack when she was looking at insurance cost for that. The accountant went back, looked at it. It's about a $3 million asset, and it's broken down by square footage and by acreage and attributed to each asset that's on the ground. So when you devolve the property, the city attorney will have how much those 3 buildings were worth at the time of transfer, and Karen has received that from me for her purposes in terms of booking the asset. And then it also includes, Eric, now that bridged $3.5 million investment that connects all 3 of those buildings, or puts them together as an asset. So there were 3 buildings as part of the BOE transfer instead of the one that they were currently occupying. And then it's that bridging element that they invested all that money in. So it's now kind of a single asset. How was that? Was that clear as mud for a 5-year relationship
It's
sum up?
Looks just like mud.
It's as clear as the property diagram.
Well, I will say that we have a new DDA director who's in the room who was being very patient with us yesterday as we kind of talked about how this relationship both evolved and how the DDA's goal is to devolve. I mean, that's what they do. They're not supposed to sit on it forever, but sometimes the complex arrangements take more time. Anybody have any questions for me on that?
I guess
other
maybe
than-
I have one.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just to Jay, I guess. I'm assuming that I would recuse myself from any vote if I'm on the Boys and Girls Club board.
That's correct.
Certainly when it comes to the lease.
And again, it's only because you're on the board of that as well. That's the only reason, yeah.
So Monica, there's still a lot of vacant space over at the middle school. So are there any other entrepreneurs looking at that, or will some part of that building be torn down at some point in time?
Right.
Or?
So if you will allow me the discretion of coming back to you with our annual report around the end of the year, what I'd like to do is give y'all a full briefing on everything. The DDA spent a lot of time yesterday going over all the permutations of what's left, the money that's on hold at the attorney's office, the number of occupants that are at the facility, that we've got some that want to buy their own property, and we've got 4 non-paying tenants that we have to work on long-term leases and things like that. So this is the first piece. We're just unwinding this big ball of twine. It's going to take a little bit, but every day we move down the road, pieces of it get clearer. So the property that was out front has been devolved and is back on the tax rolls. We're very excited about that. We're going to see quick investment into the Pearl Burning area. That's fabulous. And the Boys and Girls Club is the next piece, and I'll try to give you a report that gives you a window for some of the rest of it. We have definitely 2 tenants that are looking to buy their own asset. And DDA is very eager to sell them their own assets, so they will have money to do demolition with, because what we have on budget is not enough to do all of it.
Is there any more questions for Monica?
Yeah, just to the buildings that the DDA owns here at the Boys and Girls Club complex.
Yes, sir.
Or the part of it that the city owns, is it covered by our city liability insurance policy?
The answer is yes, DDA or city. The DDA is under your umbrella, and then the city is going to cover its own piece.
So any expenses related to buildings in that complex, the city's paying the liability portion of?
You're paying the insurance, but I have a feeling that, based on the email I got from Karen, that DDA may be paying for their portion soon. So we're learning to divvy things up a little bit more detailed nowadays. But you will be paying for the 1 acre part and the buildings that are on the 1 acre part. Just to be clear, any lease that you would do to the DDA would devolve to the tenancy, and we require them to carry their own insurance, to give letters of additional insured to both the city and the DDA, because anybody who sues thinks the city has the deep pockets. So they may go after the DDA, but ultimately they're going to try to tap the city, and that's just the way that is. So we try to make sure that we cover both entities. They're required to carry insurance for their own goods that are inside. We don't do any replacement. And Boys and Girls Club has a free lease, provided that they take care of all repairs. And I'm not talking little repairs. I'm talking roof collapse, wall collapse, system repairs. It is a free lease in exchange for all management of repairs. The only thing the DDA manages as the landlord are the grounds, shared lights, common parking, common driveways, mowing the grass, and none of that has been in the city's coffers for at least 4 years now. DDA's picking that up and charging it to the tenancies.
I will say, Monica, thinking back to when the Board of Education first kind of proposed relinquishing this property. And it seemed to make so much sense that we get it and for the community, really. I remember all
Yes.
those discussions.
Yes.
I don't think anyone realized the complexity involved of the various different parcels and insurance and who owns what and 10-year commitments. And I commend you for maneuvering through really complex stuff for, where are we looking at, what, 8 years, 6 years now?
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, and I will say there were 3 people who did. That was myself, Clifton Haynes, and David Nunn. David brought me into his office more than once and said, let's not do this. He said, this is going to be complicated, it's going to suck up time, and he's right. And Clifton didn't want to do it. He thought there was too much risk with money at first.
But the community was clamoring for us to do it.
And
Yes.
my perspective was, here we have this URA that we have finally paid attention to, a quarter of our city that hadn't been paid attention to in 40 years.
Thank you.
And that we were pumping all this extra money, effort, grants in the URA into the area, and we were going to let this huge spot sit in the middle of it and pretend we aren't community stewards. And so that was the balancing argument. I mean, David wasn't anti the idea, he was anti all the
The working
complexity.
parts.
Yeah.
So thank you for recognizing it. It has its moments.
Thank you for working, Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
Thank you for working in that area of the city, because as you said, for the longest, that area of the city did not have anything going on.
Right.
And then when the school got ready to close, it was gonna really destroy that community. It was gonna be an eyesore, and there would have been boards put up at windows. So thank you for taking the time to work with everyone in that area and coming to all of the meetings to talk about what we needed to do and what the citizens would like to see.
You're welcome.
So let's just thank you.
It's not uncomplicated, and
Yeah.
it's not without a couple of tears and maybe some hair pulling.
A lot.
But I will say, it's the right thing to do.
It is.
Whenever we have these really complicated issues, they're hard to tackle. The hospital's one of them.
Yes.
The middle school was one of them, and there might be 1 or 2 more in our industrial area. The bigger the building, the more single the use, the harder they are to repurpose. And so my goal over the next 2 years and 4 months and 8 days is to make sure to resolve as much of this for Molly so that she doesn't have this headache. It is a headache to try to deal with it, not the people, just the complexity. So
Right.
thank you for the compliments, but they're not necessary. We serve everybody. That's the job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica, appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Sure.
Okay, so there are a lot of others. I promised John I was going to go fast today. Y'all are killing me. Okay, so the next one is Hidden Hills. I'll remind you that this, again, was part of a pre-negotiated package. The Downtown Development Authority was asked to acquire the old Phase 2 of Hidden Hills. So the Green Space Board recommended the disposition of $300,000 of their SPLOST funds out of SPLOST 7, doesn't matter, one of the SPLOST. Y'all asked the DDA to acquire this as well as a piece on Pearl for stormwater purposes. So that contractual relationship was for $370,000. The other parcel has already been transferred. DDA purchased this one. It took a little bit longer because it had to be surveyed, devised out for both the encroachments and the 3 to 5 acre parcel that they were going to retain of it. If you'll remember, it was 2 parcels on the tax roll. So DDA actually required this in 2 sections, a 20 acre tract and a 5 acre tract that ended up surveying out a little bit less than that, as always. So that was acquired and closed from a development firm in Athens that had purchased Phase 2 from Robert Terrell, that had 40-odd, 50-odd homes that were supposed to go on it. So that was an old subdivision, and it was not laid out with lots that were bigger than 1/3 of an acre, and it had some issues with it being in the stream bed area. So this was a good move for green space. It also now will be part of 1 Mile Branch Preserve, which is exciting. So DDA did acquire it. They went to the bank. They borrowed $600,000 to be able to acquire the whole purchase. The way they make their money back off of that is holding the TDRs. So they have created the conservation easement. That is not because y'all are bad guys, that's because some future council could be bad guys. So the land trust has now taken that easement that has been executed. DDA paid the $35,000 fee for that. and that has been transferred and recorded with the Athens Land Trust, and so that acreage is now under protection. And so now we're here with the culminating piece, where we turn around and on the backside transfer the underlying green space to you for in perpetuity use for green space. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add. Any
Mr. Mayor, may
questions for
I?
me?
Sure.
So Hidden Hills, are you talking about going in past Reverend Ross's house that way? Which,
And I apologize, I don't know where Reverend Ross
So if
lives,
you
but
go
I can
into-
tell you if you're looking from Fred's house down Terrace
Straight.
Drive, it is right at the back
Straight
of
down.
that.
Okay.
There are some encroachments on from some of from the subdivision onto the highest part of the property. Just full disclosure, there's also one on the low part of the property. That means people have built off of their lot of record into someone else's property. The land trust did not want to deal with the encroachments, so the encroachments on the high side have been put into the DDA residual parcel, and Lee Abney's going to take care of those at the time he can, or we'll trade with the property owner. Maybe they'll get a little piece of the land just to resolve the encroachment. There is one remaining encroachment on the piece that we are transferring to, the DDA is transferring to the city. Okay, those are my hats, if y'all haven't noticed. There is one encroachment, it's down by the creek, and it has to be resolved. So that headache, God love you, Jay, gets transferred to Jay to resolve that encroachment. The state is aware of it because it's part of 1 mile, but we're going to have an encroachment that needs to be resolved. All the other encroachments DDA will take care of because they're on the residual tract. I have the exact acreage, and for the city council meeting, I believe I provided in your packet the actual survey of the tract, and the actual amount is 18.928 acres, and that will adjoin the 80 to 90 acres of the tract we're buying, and that will give us another 100-acre green space assembly in the city of Madison. So won't see too many more of those in our lifetime, so within the city limits. Any questions for me? Anything I can answer for you?
Thanks, Monica.
You're welcome.
Thanks
I'm
for
not
your
going to
time.
ask that be on the consent agenda because I know that we've had people with some questions, so I'm going to not ask for that and leave that open if that's okay.
It's
So
fine.
if you're wondering why I didn't ask. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next up is the Master Professional Service Agreement, and that is just the common agreement we do with Jacobs, that there's a task order in your packet, and it's for roughly $5,500. It's less than $6,000. That's already in our budget, but we're just bringing the contract to sign. This is for our plan review services that we receive from Jacobs, and Derek Doster is our contact up in Athens. We deliver plans to him once a week, and he reviews them, and this is the most affordable service that we purchase. So I would like to ask that be on the consent agenda if it's okay with the manager and the council.
And I would just like to add, when this first came up, I just instinctively said, well, we have a city engineer, might that person be able to do this? And I conferred with him, and he said, no, it's apples and oranges. And he fully supported planning doing this and who you use as well. So he was in full support of this.
Aaron also still does some private contracting work, since he's a contractor, not a city employee, and he would have a problem reviewing his own plans, which is one of the reasons why we specifically didn't go that route.
And Mayor, I assume our city attorney has looked over this agreement?
I'm good.
You're good.
So we can get a nod from the council to put this on the consent agenda at our next meeting. Thank you so much. Okay, Monica?
Today's about crossing off items on our work list. So Carmichael Commons, y'all made it part of the zoning for the PUD, which is the highest regulatory action that you have. You did negotiated zoning, and part of their proffering was a 4-acre park for future city development. So we're land banking that, and this is the deed from that from WODA.
Is that for green space?
It's 4 acres of green space, frontage on Carmichael Road. It will be a future park.
Yes.
And serves that vicinity. Does have to be a park because of the proximity to congregate housing.
Yes.
But they provided the land. This is roughly a $250,000 asset being gifted to the city as, in exchange for the community benefit balance. It's not a gratuity. Part of the community benefit balance for being allowed to not, to congregate their density.
Somewhere, I think it's probably in the fiscal '26 budget, is $100,000, I believe, for clearing of the land, but the clearing of the land does not make a park. And where is the money for the remainder of it? And my question is, does it make sense to clear the land, use that $100,000 to do that, but then have no money to really turn it into a park? Are we better off not, until the money is identifiable, are we better off not spending that $100,000?
Absolutely. For two reasons. One is, once you clear it, we have to groom it.
Yeah.
Until then, it's a wooded lot. If you groom it, then we have to start
Right.
grooming it, and the street department, the
Stormwater
public
and
works.
everything else.
Absolutely. The second thing is, if we've got $100,000 in there for grading or improving at some point, it's always best to try to leverage that. If grading will actually cost us, if land prep and grading will actually cost us $250, we're better off hunting a grant and then leveraging that up.
That's what I was gonna
We also have outstanding clearance that we were supposed to do on other parkland, and it's just something to put in front of John and let him kind of ferret out where it's best to. But we would never encourage you to clear a lot unless you just want to leave it for open picnicking. I'll remind you that it was called Washington Park, and then it was Gilbert Park, was cleared from '91 to 2006, and people did picnic there, but it had nothing on it. I
Nothing.
think it raises expectations once you clear it.
I think if you recall, when we were debating the zoning change, I think that accommodated,
Carmichael Commons?
yeah. No, the Carmichael
Carmichael
Commons one,
Commons.
yeah. It was kind of presented that we're getting a park, we're being granted a park. And I think I made the point that, well, we've been granted the land for a park, but there's a big difference between the land and a park. There's a lot of money that goes into making it a real park with sidewalks and stormwater.
About $750,000 is what
Yeah.
it cost to do Lambert.
Yeah, and right now, as I look at the budget we just approved, I don't see any real possibility in the short term of that happening.
No, sir, this is land banking at its finest. This is what you do so that it doesn't become developed and you can serve the citizens that are going to grow up around it. I don't anticipate that you will probably be looking at improvement of this, given the current fiscal climate, until well after Gilbert. Gilbert has been waiting since 1991 for improvements. It should be the priority over this one, which has less residents around it. So.
And Andrews.
And also to
Andrews.
that point, I think we had talked for a long time in Madison about the goal of having 4 parks, which would put a city park within a 10-minute walk of any resident within the city.
That is the goal of the Green Space Board.
And I
That's correct.
believe this park in Carmichael would be number 5. Didn't quite fit in with the goal of doing the 4, but
It actually
I
did.
love parks, but we
So-
need money.
The Green Space Board put that out there. They also knew that you had identified as your growth area for the city pretty much the prior farm, which is now Reams owned. And David Land specifically, when we were looking at green space acquisition and the acquisition policy that the Green Space Board developed, wanted to acquire acreage from Reams. And Planning Department was very pushback to the chair and said, don't acquire it, because any form of development that's looking at that land, why would our taxpayers pay for it when it is an easy offer up out of anyone in that area looking at making the community benefits test to pay for it? So we discourage that. It is actually mapped out in the Green Spaces Board that there will need to be a park in that vicinity, but there was no need to spend SPLOST dollars on it. We're smarter than that. And so we have waited for that. I will say that as the rest of that land develops, we are not brokering it, but we are saying that if you're looking at what you want to do for a community benefits test, there is a park in the vicinity that could use improvements. We can't ask for things. We can just point out what other people have proffered in the past. And so I, again, encourage you not to lay out money for improvements, because eventually I believe somebody will take advantage of that. It's one of the easiest things to do for the community benefits
And I
test.
would point out too that the county line is like a half a block away from this quote park. And we don't have as much control over zoning and development in the county land as we do in the city. And that county land is very, very close.
Yeah, and the county's in less control than the Penningtons are, so. You know, they're big controllers on that property. Jennifer's right across the road. Any questions about taking the piece of land that is to be devoted to future park space? All right, then I would ask that be on the consent agenda if that's possible, and we will ask Molly to mark that as compliance for their zoning, and I believe that brings them into full compliance with their planned unit development.
Okay, so put that on the consent agenda for Amanita. Okay.
Next
GDOT.
up.
Next
Yeah,
up.
I'm sorry. It's been that kind of month. So GDOT is next on your list. So we have the most recent grant for GDOT was Horse Branch for the Model Mile on the Horse Branch property. For that, we've received the grant, we've accepted the grant, you've already done a resolution for that, but we have a very specific form that you have to sign or authorize the mayor to sign called the local let form. And
The local what?
Local let, L-E-T. And what that means is the project is not let by the state. They control the procurement, the picking, the doing, the everything. It is let at the local level. All of our other projects are a local let of the GDOT TAP grants we've received. This one is the final one, but the form wasn't part of the original package, and so this is cleanup, but we didn't want to just have the mayor sign it. We thought it was important enough to bring it to your attention and make sure it made the docket. But we would ask this to be on the consent agenda. This is not new project, it's not new money, it's not new agreement. It is just the form that's necessary to make the project not state-controlled, but city-controlled.
In order from the council to put this on the consent agenda? Thank you. Georgia, those two.
Yes, sir. Next up is the GOSP grant. So the GOSP grant is the most recent one we received, is for $1.2 million for a $1.9 million project. You've already done the resolution. We've done stage 1. We've done stage 2. We are 12 months into this application. And finally, we have in front of you the project agreement. This is the one to buy the acreage for 1 Mile Branch 2. It will involve a purchase of around 90 acres instead of the original 80 proposed, because we're trying to maximize the use on land acquisition. And you would need to authorize the mayor or the officers as necessary to execute the, I was going to call it a PFA, which is what GDOT calls them, but this one's called a project agreement. They're standardized. The attorney gets to look at them, but they are pretty static.
Doesn't do any good if I try to change it.
No, they would not like that. We're not seeing anything specific in this or anything surprising, but this is what gets us started on the acquisition in terms of making the funds available to John for closing.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, through you, ask Monica a question, and if we need to go into executive session, we could do that at the
Yes,
next
sir,
meeting.
okay.
But
I'll be
I was just
oblique.
curious as to whether or not you're still feeling okay in terms of the timing of getting a final answer and being able to close. I mean,
So what I can say is that we don't see anything that jeopardizes the city's intentions. And the state has been notified. We have a 30-day requirement to notify them for availability of funds, and that has been done. We've had our initial financial meeting on the grant and the revised budget that is required post the third appraisal, and that has been done. As soon as we get concurrence from you, before you actually sign all documents, we'll make sure finance gets a closing budget. Karen does have a copy that she and John have reviewed, but we'll make sure that we get the final one attached. And I'm happy to answer any questions about this, but I actually don't know what it looks like when you're looking at it, because I've been staring at it for so long, it all smells the same to me.
Jay, what do you think? One question is, I see the proposal should not exceed 64.9% of the total cost that the GOS fund will be paying for. Is that 64.9, is that specific to this project, or is that the standard that they do for the?
It's specific to our project. And here,
Where does that number come from?
it comes from the budget as initially submitted, because when you submit the budget, there is what you ask for out of the state, which is $1.2 million. There's our match, which is $687,000 some change, give or take a little bit. That's made up of in-kind and volunteer hours, and it's some cash, right? So we have our match that we have to do. Our match is all being drawn from SPLOST 8. It's $500,000. That's the cap on your cash inlay, and it's all from a dedicated source. Other stuff is either support work or some, I think there might be a little bit of general fund money, but it's already been, it's pocketed in the budget. I've made sure that it's where it's supposed to be. So you shouldn't have any surprises with this. What that number does, Eric, is there's two things. One is you can't get the award from the state and then play hooky and drop your match down in some way and say, oh, we couldn't do that or we couldn't do this, because the grant was awarded for its competitiveness against other applicants. So you don't get to pedal back on your side of it. So we still have to make sure we spend that $1.9 million. If you don't remember what we're getting out of that, we're getting 90 acres, 2 arbors, some improvements to the trail. It includes lots of demolition and lots of cleanup for the dumping that's gone onto the grounds. It includes survey work, lots of legal stuff. That's where that $1.9 million is going. So don't think you're getting this like hard paved trail. This is meant to be kind of more of a primitive trail, and that covers all that. The state's numbers in there, so you can't back on your side.
And I assume our city attorney was up all night reading all of this?
With the new baby in his arms reading.
And what did you think?
Again, and there's not a whole lot of changes I can make unless y'all just really don't want the, whatever, almost $2 million. Pretty contingent.
Yeah, Jay's bloating that a little bit. 1.2, don't want to oversell it, 1.2. Any questions for me on the actual project? I mean, I admit that I don't read these pretty hard because the state's going to give us the money if we sign it, and if we don't sign it, they don't give us the money, so I don't read them too hard. I just make sure I know what our commitments are and that we covered our commitments.
So we're good to go? Get a nod to put on our consent agenda?
And just so you know, as soon as we take possession of the land, part of the money actually does go to a conservation easement so that some future city council can't be bad boys and girls. Okay? All right. May I ask that grant document be on the consent agenda, please?
We did.
Thank you. I'm trying to save y'all money, time at your next meeting. Wellbridge, okay. One more thing. So Wellbridge, when you did your planned unit development negotiation with Wellbridge, Wellbridge offered up a 25-acre tract as the community benefit balance test. That included all of the frontage and surrounding acreage up and down a big stretch of Horse Branch. Also included grading for a 3-mile area. We have asked the manager if we could substitute the value of that grading because the property owner is changing hands, so that we used an engineer's calculation, figured out what that amount was, and we did receive that in cash, and the manager did approve that. Thank you, John. So we have received that cash in hand. There's also a 14.5-acre use and access agreement. That was the tract of land that the manager at the time recommended that you didn't take because it had a stormwater pond on it, and they didn't want the liability or any maintenance costs that were associated with that. But we did take a use and access agreement to it, or agreed to that, so that trails could be extended across it, public could use it, Wellbridge residents could cross it to get to the city infrastructure, but there would be no maintenance responsibilities for the city of Madison in regard to that parcel, and that's also in there. After the fact, the developer had retained a 25-acre tract that he was going to either do multifamily or 50 homes on. And it's kind of the bubble shape that you see on the tax records. It goes out like a peninsula. And so he had not included that. When he started doing the conservation easement and saw the tax value of that, he actually added it to the conservation easement. So the gift you see, or the transaction you see in front of you is a warranty deed for 50 acres as opposed to 25. It also includes the use and access agreement for 14.5 acres. And it also includes the transfer of funds for the future trail leverage. And I will say that this is the last big chunk. Green Space never thought it would happen, and we've spent the better part of the last 3 months hand-holding the owner through the conservation easement process. I can confirm that the Athens Land Trust does hold a conservation easement on the 50 acres now, and that has closed and been recorded. And so it is now protected, and he is transferring the underlying green space to you. And this will exhaust his 3 zoning conditions per the record, and Molly will enter it accordingly. Any questions?
What can you tell us about the commitments we made regarding the TDRs for that property?
You didn't make any commitments regarding the TDRs because all he offered was the underlying land after the development agreement. Or after the conservation easement.
So who is getting the value of the TDRs?
The property owner. He gets the value of the TDRs, or not the value of the TDRs, he gets the TDRs, and he also gets the value of the conservation easement donation. If there is a value to it, it doesn't have a value to it because of the TDRs. And then he gets the value of the donation of the underlying land to you because it still has value. And so he uses all that as a write-off for the
So the TDRs, which I guess are banked in the Athens Land Trust, Mahoney has the right then when he wants to do another development to sell those or sell it to another developer.
Right. Okay, so TDRs are like mitigation credits for wetlands. They are like your cemetery deed. They belong to the property owner and they're held by the property owner. We keep a track of them. We record them. And when people use them after their public hearing that mayor and council have said where they can use them, because the owner doesn't control where they can be used, you do.
The receiving areas.
That's right. So you control the receiving area. So he has an asset, but he can't use it unless you tell him he can use it. So he has those. They're stock certificates. He has them. He can sell them. He can put them in a vault. He can extinguish them. If he wanted to just make them go away, they're his to make them go away. They're like mineral rights, air rights, mitigation credits, all the fancy environmental things. It's one of the fancy environmental things. But they do have a value.
Yeah.
But they don't have a value really until you can use them.
Correct.
Correct.
So the value can vary. I mean, I've heard various numbers of what one TDR can be worth. $10,000 can be worth $20,000.
Right. So
all depending on where it's going and what kind of development it is.
Right. So we'll probably have Chris McCauley at some point come and with the Conservancy and give y'all an updated TDR chat because some of the people on the board are new and haven't heard the chat. I can tell you for public record that TDRs have the city, the Green Space Board, the DDA have all engaged in some part of that TDR transaction at some point. They have ranged from around 3,000 a TDR to 11,000 a TDR. And the city of Milton has sold theirs from anywhere from 25 to 40. Those are entirely based on where they're laid down, not where they're generated from. And so the city will have a good many TDRs that are available to you after the conservation easements are placed on all the green space property that we're working with. And you will have those same rights as a property owner. You can decide to fatigue them and exhaust them. You can give them to John to put in the vault for some future city manager to use as an asset. And they can't be laid down anywhere without the elected body's choice on them being laid down. I will say, yours are restricted in one way that nobody else's are. Yours are restricted because when we adopted the TDR ordinance, yours can't be used to generate money for the general fund, for a fire station. They're generated from green space to protect the green space with a conservation easement. They can be used to pay for green space, conservation easements, and legal things associated with the protection of land. Yours can't be used as a general revenue source. So, and if Deborah will put that into the minutes to remind some future city council that they cannot use theirs for money, they're used for buying more green space.
Are the
David
TDR
Land structured that very carefully.
Are the TDRs that are controlled by the DDA also similarly restricted?
They are not, because they are an economic development arm of the city. They are not the city's green space board.
So the DDA TDRs could be used for development,
Just like any other
probably
property
be the
owner.
higher end of the value scale than green space.
Depends where you lay them down. Again, if you put them down in one of our modest areas, they are worth about half the value of the lot of record. So when the DDA sold the ones that went with Canaan Crossing, they went for around $11,000 because a lot in the Canaan area is about $25,000. If they were to go to, and nobody is talking about transferring them to Cedar Lakes, okay? But I'm giving an example. If I have a council member in the room, so I'm just looking at him. If a lot in Cedar Lakes is $75,000 to $100,000, and somebody could put a TDR there because y'all have approved them to put a TDR there, they could be worth $50,000. But that's my understanding from Chris McCauley. When she helped structure the program with David Land, she explained to us that TDRs are worth about half the value of where they get put down, not where they come from. But the only restriction for green space was adopted by y'all for your use of TDRs, so that some future city council wouldn't just strip them off of anything and not use them for more green space.
I think when we have a somewhat less filled agenda, I would like very much to have a presentation from you and from Chris McCauley, because I think we could all use a little refresher on how the TDR program works.
Yep.
It's been a long time since we passed that ordinance and discussed it, and I think we need to look at that quite a bit more
Absolutely.
closely. 2015
is 10 years ago, and we've got people who don't remember what happened 10 years ago easily.
I also would like a update on that, because I would like to know who decides which areas are the modest areas and which areas are not the modest areas.
That's just a polite way for me to say that we have some areas that are more affluent than others. Nobody decides where the modest areas are. It's just me saying if something goes to a really highfalutin area, I could use that. It's just not as, if it goes to a highfalutin area,
It's market driven.
it is totally market driven by the surrounding property.
Okay, that sounds better.
Okay. We like the word modest when we try to get grants.
Grants are fine, yeah.
Okay, any other questions about Wellbridge transferring their assets that they have promised in exchange for their negotiated zoning? And this will mark them off our zoning compliance list. Any reason that that shouldn't be on the consent agenda?
I think it's been answered. Thank you so much, Monica. So council get a nod to put on the consent agenda. Good, thanks.
Okay,
Downtown
I
Development
think
Authority.
those other two might have been put on the agenda by Jay.
I'm only aware of one, but could have been separated out.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll stay if you want me to, but.
Yeah, sure. And this, what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think so.
So, it got brought to our attention that you all.
The microphone.
Ken's gonna yap at you if you don't talk into the
I
microphone.
was gonna walk around and.
Hold, want to use my mic here?
No, it's okay. I know. I need
Probably
a
have a
one.
portable.
No, it's okay.
Ken's got a portable if you'd rather stand.
No, I'm good. So the intergovernmental agreement that you all passed related to the Hidden Hills property, it came to my attention that when that agreement was placed in y'all's agenda on the night you approved it, there was, I don't even want to call it a typo, it was like a computer glitch. And when it got transferred into y'all's agenda, and after I describe it, I'll walk around and show you what I'm talking about. It sort of, it glitched, and paragraph 2 of that agreement was not in your agenda packet, and that is where it was related to TDRs and the 3 acres that could be transferred for a housing development. And I'll show you what I mean. It's not even a typo. I don't even know how this would happen, but.
I've seen it because a member of the public made us aware of it a year after it happened. We had no idea it was like that either. So, good to know. The hard copy doesn't look like that. That's not what we operated off of, so. Had we been made aware of it then, we could have certainly updated it and made it aware.
Where is the
Oh.
paragraph or whatever it is, the line that's missing?
It should be in the attachment that I sent you in the hard copy.
Yeah, one of these 78 pages.
I think it's section 2.
I'm always willing to send you less, but I think that y'all like more.
I can read it, see where that's worded.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Because I've got the actual one too. So that paragraph says, following conservation and revitalization of the property, the authority will deed the land subject to a conservation easement to the city for city's use. In exchange for the property, the authority, the DDA, shall contract for and fund the establishment of a conservation easement with the Athens Land Trust and retain any resulting development rights resulting from the establishment of a conservation easement upon the property. At DDA's discretion, the authority may elect to reserve from the transfer of property 3 acres for a housing construction. So that was the quote-unquote missing. And again, my assumption is that when it was getting passed back and forth and put on the agenda or not, something glitched out and it just didn't get uploaded properly. And so I don't like there being questions of what the council did or did not approve. And so my recommendation, because when Monica was talking about it earlier, it seemed like everybody was still on board with this project and everything. And so my guess is that y'all did intend to approve this paragraph, but to make it 100% and make me feel a whole lot better, I would say throw the agreement with that paragraph back in it on your consent agenda and just reapprove it. And then it's 100% y'all meant to do it.
And you may remember, because I do, that the section on affordable housing was Carrie Peters-Reed bringing that up. So it obviously was supposed to have been there in some type of glitch or whatever.
I definitely asked about.
You
So-
remember that? Yeah.
And I will say that I know it was in there, and had we known that it was fuzzy or whatever
It's like
glitch that happened.
It's like an alien got it.
Had that been brought to our attention that night, we certainly could have passed around the hard copy. The hard copy that was signed that DDA has, that they relied upon and went to the bank and borrowed the $600,000 was based on that. And so there's no fuzziness on DDA's end. They would not have borrowed $600,000 without the ability to secure that asset. The city was only providing $300,000. There's no way they would have done that. That's not what Lee presented to them. That's not what the board approved, and they wouldn't have acted on that. So they're not confused about the document that they have, and I don't believe there was any subterfuge. I do believe we have people who like to pretend there's subterfuge, but there was none. I talked specifically to John. John and I talked about it. Carrie is a little worried that there was this amount of single-family homes going away that were platted back in the 90s. And she's like, all these single-family homes are going away as an opportunity in this area, and there's not going to be some kind of replacement value.
That's exactly right.
So we did try to pull out a 3 to 5 acre tract so that there could be a small development reserved on the highland that wasn't going to be creek-related.
That's right.
And then the DDA did borrow an extra $300,000 to pay for the conservation easement, to pay for the creation of the TDRs, and to balance out the number of housing
Houses.
units that were going away.
That's right.
So I think we were all clear, but I'm not sure what happened to the technical processing of the document.
And I would
a year
just-
later, I can't fix what,
No one, I mean, the only way we can fix it is reapprove it and just, then everybody's 100% on the same page. So if y'all are good with it, I would just throw this agreement back on your consent agenda, just approve it with everything else, and then you can approve the transfer that Monica spoke about earlier. Either, I'd probably do it in new business or something, just to make it clearer what you're doing, but just do it at the same meeting.
and I will mention that that same contract covers the $70,000 and the Pearl Street property that's already been transferred as well. DDA did not take any development rights off of the Pearl Street property. It was on the tax records for an acre and a half. We had discussed that that would be the makeup for the $70,000 in purchase versus the conservation easement protection. We left that for the green space to do at some future moment, because when it was surveyed, it was only half an acre, not an acre and a half. So that was not, it was not deemed feasible to even work for a TDR.
So let me ask a question on the numbers. So the total property was a $500,000.
It was roughly $540,000 was the purchase
Okay,
price.
and the DDA borrowed or leveraged 300,000?
Borrowed.
They borrowed 300,000?
They borrowed $600,000 because at the time, I don't think, I'd have to go back and look. I think
Yeah,
they
but-
borrowed 6 because y'all didn't have the money cash on hand at
Yeah,
the
but
time.
but they didn't use it all for this property. The
There's
city.
a separate loan that's tied directly to this property, yes, sir.
Yeah, but is there not $200,000 in, I guess you call it taxpayer money, because wasn't it one of the SPLOST supposed to pay for part of it?
$300,000 in SPLOST was to pay for the 540 closing. And it will be used to pay for that closing. It will be used to fatigue some of that debt. It hasn't been fatigued yet. The note is due for renewal this month. So they will apply the SPLOST funds. The city did not supply the SPLOST funds at closing. To close the property, DDA had to borrow the money in advance to close the property. So the SPLOST money was not provided to DDA at closing.
Well, I guess my question, Monica, kind of centers around the TDRs again.
Sure.
I understand fully if the DDA borrowed money to pay for a portion of this, half of it, 2/3 of it, whatever it is. The TDRs belong to the DDA, in my opinion. The value of the TDRs, which you just said could be anywhere from 11,000 to 20,000, you know, the real value there. I understand
Provided they
completely
have a
why
place to put 'em
DDA
down.
would be entitled to that. However, the portion of that purchase price, which seems to be roughly half, came from city taxpayers, whether either through SPLOST funds or, why would the DDA be entitled to the value of all of the TDRs when half the expense was paid by city taxpayers, not the DDA?
That's actually a really good argument. I don't know if I'm wearing my city hat that I wouldn't argue that. That's just not what was negotiated.
Well, I would personally, I'd be reluctant to approve the paragraph that was missing unless it was divided up as I kind of described. I think the DDA, I don't see why the DDA should be getting the entire value of those TDRs.
I understand that.
Because it wasn't all their money that bought it.
Right. I totally understand that. I will
totally
tell
agree
you
with
that
that.
that's, unfortunately, the DDA relied on the document that was signed by the mayor and manager Clem. And I'm going to leave that to their attorney because I get paid by y'all and I don't want to get in between the two entities.
But I wasn't-
I don't want to be chastised or get in the middle of that when that's not what was negotiated, that's not what they relied upon, and you're looking at just the purchase price. I will wear my DDA hat for a second as their staff person and say, they handled the acquisition, they handled the closing, they not only paid that, they went to the loan, they've been carrying the note, they paid for the survey, they paid for the conservation value. You're using the $35,000 that they paid for in the conservation value, or the conservation easement, as in kind in our GOSPA grant as leverage to get the grant that you're not putting the money in for that. So it's not $540,000. We can, if you want to look at it and break it down by what there's actually in it, and kind of talk about that as a divide. You need to have a sit-down with Ben Whidbey and the DDA's attorney as a change in the contract that they relied on as it was adopted. And so they have a signed contract that they acted upon. And they don't want to get mixed up with you either, but this is the reason I asked Brents to attend this morning, and this is the reason that I told them that they should be here for the council meeting, because they acted in good faith, they did what they were supposed to do, and now we're hearing a different song because...
Well, yeah, but so did we. We passed what we thought was a contract that didn't have anything about TDRs. I mean, I'm not sure how detailed we are, we're looking at it, but anyway, it just seems like you make a good point, the 35 grand, it's not cheap putting these things into the Athens Land Trust. At 35 grand, that's just for this one parcel, it's expensive. I think fully that should fit into the math, but I don't think...
I'm not saying they wouldn't be open to some discussion on that. I'm saying for them, the contract was done, they acted upon it, they did what they said they were gonna do. For you, you're saying the contract wasn't done, but they have a copy of the signed contract. So for them, you're opening back up something that's done.
Well,
And
maybe I should be talking more about going forward, maybe I should be talking about this, but I do think there's a value in TDRs that we have been underestimating. And if it's DDA money and DDA funding and expense paying that generates TDRs, by all means, the DDA, which is not the city of Madison,
That's right.
is entitled to that value. However, if it's city taxpayer money, either through SPLOST or through general fund or whatever, then I think the city is entitled to that value. And
I don't disagree with you
that's
on
kind
that.
of you tend to agree with that concept. The
I
specifics
do.
here, I don't know.
I don't have a problem, any concern with us saying that for our SPLOST dollars, we would like the value of TDRs. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I actually think that mirrors the merits of the ordinance as adopted by when David Land crafted it. I was there at the table with Chris and David, and we were very specific. We didn't want to see city council mining land for money. And so we crafted it so that it would be about green space, because that was the purpose of it, green space and growth being balanced. What I'm nervous about is opening a contract that's already been relied upon and trying to renegotiate it. I think that DDA may have other decision-making that has gone on or basis in their fact in their heads that they've been doing. It is really weird to open up a contract after they've already relied on it and spent money based on it, and borrowed money based on it.
Mr. Mayor, since the council doesn't usually make decisions at a work session anyways, and because the leadership of the DDA isn't present, and they really should be in this, they should be present in this conversation, might this be something that we can just leave it alone and let Jay reach out to, is it Lee?
Jay and Lee have already talked about it. But I hear you're wanting to push it out, so I'm not trying to countermand that.
If I could ask Jay, I mean, you have a valid point. It's a signed contract, everybody in good faith, completely in good faith across the board. I mean, how does one go back and say, oh, wait, you know, that we don't like this contract anymore? And I get the flaw in the what was presented to the council or what we had in the packet, but is it, I don't know, anyway, what's your opinion on any of this?
There's arguments to be made on both sides. You know, it's really what the council approved that night, and then what the DDA relied on. And you know, everybody that needed to sign the contract did sign the contract. When it was signed, that paragraph was in there, and so I mean, there is a good argument that should have been relied on. The other argument is sort of what I was brought up and was trying to clean up, is what did the council approve that night with that missing paragraph.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, those are the
Tricky,
two arguments.
isn't it?
I can't tell you for certain how that shakes out if the DDA and the city got into it, which I hope they don't.
Me either.
Yeah. So.
It seems it'd be even more difficult if there was a loan made predicated on what was in a contract as an asset. I don't know on the banking end, but
Yeah.
that would make it really
That's the
difficult.
only reason I'm a little nervous, because they they do have to fatigue that note. But I'm not gonna speak for them on their behalf of being able to sit back down and talk about reallocation. They're quasi-government, y'all are government. If y'all wanted to get together and agree to shift some of the TDRs back to the city, I think they can do that without any problem if that's what they wanted to do. As long as they DDA's not in the money-making business. They're about balancing the sheets and improving the tax rolls. So as long as they can balance their books with the debt service on that, if they wanted to transfer it back to y'all, you can shift property back and forth all day long. That doesn't, I don't think that's the intent. I think that there is a misunderstanding of TDRs having a value until y'all have a permitted by right receiving area. Because they don't have value until you say they can go somewhere. Kelly Mahoney's TDRs aren't worth this if you don't let them go down anywhere.
Yeah, there's no value until they're redeemed or actually.
That's correct.
Redeem may not be the right verb.
If
but-
you could give some kind of, I don't know how you would do that, but if you could give some kind of assurance that half of DDA's TDRs could be laid down somewhere, then they're worth something, and then we know how to split the value of them. But I'm not arguing that they're not worth something. They're just not worth something yet.
So could I ask Jay a question? Since the contract has already been signed, should we move forward with this, Jay? And since,
that is a decision for you all. My recommendation was just if you wanted to go forward with the contract that was signed, I would recommend reapproving it so there's no questions in the future.
Yeah, I would be opposed to putting it on the consent agenda.
I'm not asking for that.
Yeah, I think it needs to go on the next meeting with the paragraph put back in and let the council decide whether they want to approve it or not.
I agree.
That would be my suggestion.
I actually
And if
think
people have
it's-
public comment related to it, they'd have a chance to.
I think that's smart.
I agree.
I also think that there should be a clear understanding of what happens when something funky goes wrong in your digitization process. It might not always be DDA, and if something goes funky in the digitization, I'm not blaming you, Ken, don't yell at me later. But, the hard copy was the hard copy, and I believe that was the deal that Attorney Abney presented. That's what was discussed. That was the DDA's understanding when they made the vote and when they took the loan out. I think there are digitization errors that happen, but there are going to be other ones. So whatever the policy is, if it happens and you find it a year later, if the goal is to always put it back on the docket and revisit the contract, that's great. Just make sure that
Exactly.
DDA doesn't need to be singled out for being a bad guy when they had no bad intent.
And I also
not
think-
that Eric was headed that way. I heard the economic argument there.
And I agree with Eric. So I think that we definitely need to go back and look over TDRs and look over how we're handling everything with DDA. So we're all on the same page once we get everything together.
Yeah, I think that adds to my suggestion that we do a work session.
Work session.
And
I
get the
totally-
people that know more than I, which is Monica and Chris, and so we can kind of get a better handle of it. And we can discuss the division of the value, if
Yes.
that's something that makes sense. But
And I think DDA would like that. They'd like to be able to rely on, when they're asked to perform as a public agency for you, they would like to be able to rely on that with confidence.
Sure.
And I think we need to learn more. If we're speaking on behalf of the citizens, we need to know what we're talking about for the citizens as
that
well.
would be that's an admirable goal indeed.
Should be.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Sure.
I'm gonna put Jay right on the spot. I heard Fred's question and I heard how you answered it, but purely from a legal opinion. With the contract, that was the intent and the omission, and if you weren't our city attorney and this went to court, is there a legal, do you?
I think the DDA would have a strong argument that they relied on that contract.
Well, and it seems to me, at the end of the day, regardless of what happened within the session, once the paper hard copy was laid down, whoever on the, now, don't get me wrong, it's easy for us to just rely on what we see here and just sign. But at the end of the day, that whatever's in that paper should have, we have a responsibility to read it all the way through. Now, so there is that. Now, I'm not saying
Well, obviously, none of us caught the digital.
Right.
Everybody in the room received the packet. None of us caught it for a year. And so, I mean, we'll all read a little harder.
We will.
We will. But I want y'all to just know that DDA really does try hard to be transparent as possible and relay every intent. I think that we were very clear with what Carrie wanted to occur, and I think they acted accordingly. This idea that there's always some malintent is strangling. Digital accidents happen. I would rather it not have happened to DDA. That would be great. Anything else y'all have for us on DDA stuff? Otherwise, I want to get up and let Ken talk about why that document was screwed up. Thank y'all. I appreciate your
Thanks,
time. I'm sorry the
Monica.
docket was so long. Hopefully that
Good
will make
job.
the regular meeting a much shorter.
Are you getting a hotel room tonight, Monica?
Sounds like it.
Oh, that is entirely possible unless you and Judy are putting me up. So yes.
You
it's
can come
entirely
stay with
possible.
me, come on. I got room.
I will, just in Ken's defense, tell Ken, we all had the ability to see that a year ago. Miss,
Everybody.
out, I just post the documents as
But
Here we go.
the problem was not in the document, it was in the PDF. And so that translation software just didn't do it right, and it happens sometimes. But I thank you for your patience this morning with everything.
it was missing a year ago, or are we just looking at what we have this time?
I believe that Miss Winslow was the one who did the research to find out what it was a year ago. But I think that was discovered.
It was in the packet back then, Ken.
So it was correct a year ago and it wasn't correct this time?
No, the error was in the packet.
Yeah,
What
it
was
wasn't presented
posted
to us
in the
a year ago.
what was posted in the PDF a year ago was garbled, and none of us saw it. All right,
Thanks,
I'm gonna
Monica.
shut up about that in a minute.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Ken?
Ken.
Yeah, can.
Ken.
Can.
Did anybody bring their thumb screws?
Again, I just post them as they are given to me, so.
Let me write that down.
So, I'm going to defer to council as to how this proceeds, because
How does it? Yes.
we've never had it at a work session. I didn't come up with this process, so do you need me to present something, or?
I have no idea. It wasn't my idea.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, I know. Well, so, how do we want to proceed? I mean, the whole point of this was to keep us from going through almost that, sorry, I'm going to say this, it's a bit hyperbole, the middle school picking somebody on your team and who gets left standing and is the last person. We don't want that, because we do appreciate everybody, those in our city that are willing to serve. So, does any, I mean, we could look at, Ken, I mean, as we have done in the past, we could maybe modify what we do in regular session by looking at who's out there, and if anybody has any opinions about it, about who's the applicants, any kind of strong leanings one way or the other, and just say, and maybe we can't agree, and then we all have to, then in the regular council meeting, then we have to go back to what our process is. But if we could eliminate it, first of all, it'll save us a heck of a lot of time in the regular city council meeting, especially if we have either a firm, I mean, many of us have like a specific person that we really would like to see, or don't have really that much of a opinion at all, and would be, convinced by another council person who might have more information than another.
Or a liaison too.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm kidding. I'm so sorry. I'm being silly. Yes, that's right. So that's, I mean, we could take it by each committee, and
Well, if it wasn't for Jay, I'd go along with Rick's suggestion of just write it down on a piece of paper and hand it
Yeah,
in.
me
But
too.
Jay scotched that idea, unfortunately. One question I've got is, do you want to, when we talked about this at the last meeting, when you came up with this concept, it did not include the corridor design or the other one. Our impetus for talking about it today was really for DDA because there were so many applicants. Do we want to, at this point, revert to our normal procedure for the other commissions? You know, like there's 2 applicants for corridor and there's, I think there's 1 or 2 for housing. Do we want to kind of keep our normal procedure, which would be at the next meeting to make those appointments and just talk about the DDA ones? Or are we thinking of a consent agenda for all of them?
well, I mean, I think we should, whatever we decide, I think we should be consistent in our process. I mean, I don't think we should treat, personally, I don't think we should treat one
Right.
commission differently than the other in terms of our selection process.
That's
So if we're going to do that for DDA, then I think we need to do it for the others.
And we moved forward on the Arts Commission because there was one opening.
Exactly.
one
Right.
Candidate. or
And that went on a
application.
consent agenda.
Right.
So, I think maybe, it looks like we got an applicant from pretty much all the districts. So, in the past, the council member has had a hand in, if it were from that district, making a statement about if this person was good or not good. So, if it's coming from your district, do you want to say, you know, I support this person?
I would, yeah, go ahead. I would think, that's a good question, but I think in this case, because whoever is applying on the commission is not necessarily representing that district. I mean, they're just serving, what's the term for that? You know?
At large.
At large, that's what I want. So I don't know that, but unless somebody knows the person or
And
has
I think the reason we ask what district people are in, just, it is nice to have people from all over the
yeah.
city to serve on boards.
Yeah.
But not necessarily, as you said, to represent their
Yeah.
district.
They're gonna be serving at large. They're gonna serve the entire community.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, if I'll offer something and see, try to get it started and maybe get thrown under the bus here, but as an example of the difficulty in this, the first one on Ken's list is the Corridor Design Commission, for which I serve as the liaison. We have 2 applicants and 1 term. Reading the, and I don't know either of the gentlemen personally, but I mean, is Tripp currently on or has served on the corridor in the past?
He served a long time ago, I think, not in my memory, but, yeah, I think he was early on.
Is that what he meant by last served on a corridor meeting?
Yeah.
So he was a
right.
commissioner? Is that how you got it?
That's what I was trying to confirm, but I mean, I think
I mean, it was
obviously.
probably like 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, more than
So
that.
with his professional skills as an architect, that seems to add a lot to me to what they would be offering. And then with Mr. Hayes, he lives in the county but owns a lot of businesses
Right.
in the corridor.
Haynes Farm, yeah.
And
So it is in the corridor.
Okay.
Yep.
Having said that, I think either one of them would do an ample job. I don't know if anybody knows them and sometimes I like the fact that what y'all do is you're able to tell us if one doesn't serve here, they may want to serve somewhere else. I know you like that, or we may talk to them or have talked to them about serving elsewhere. I don't know, but not trying to put it on you, but if there's any
Right.
of that information that isn't on here.
I mean, I think, so one difference between, as you noted, Craig Hayes doesn't live in the city, but you have appointed people who don't live in the city, but own a business in town, preferably in the corridor. So, I mean, so it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for that type of appointment.
It wouldn't be.
It would not be.
Okay,
Unusual.
right.
And then, I mean, the things that Mr. Alsbrooks has going for him is he is an architect, so he can look at, and they are a design review board, so, and he is a design professional. and has served on the board before and might be able to bring some, at least past experience to it, so.
I'd be down for.
So what I did is I just walked completely around that and didn't
you
give you
did.
anything.
As did I.
And by the way, it's not so bad under the bus, so feel free to join me.
Well, I mean, even based on that kind of general observation, I feel like, you know, maybe Tripp would be just a better candidate in this case, and it'd be, you know, now, of course, we couldn't give Mr. Hayes, I mean, we couldn't necessarily refer him to another commission unless it could be somebody representing, coming out of the county, only because he's in the county. So that's the only thing in that case, is just to not be able to really extend any kind of option. But, again, that's the way it goes sometimes, and maybe he would, again, apply when there was another term, open term in that, and we could even, at that point, maybe even reach out and say, now we have one. But again, because again, we really appreciate anybody that steps up, everyone that steps up to serve. This is, you know, to support the activities in the community. So I would personally, based on your very vague observations.
Nebulous.
Circumspect. I would go with Tripp. I'd be okay to appoint Tripp to this.
I would too.
I don't know either candidate, but I also would go with Tripp Osbrooks.
I know both of them. And
Okay.
I guess my question is, I keep rereading the first sentence. The commission shall consist of 7 members who've demonstrated special interest. Is there any kind of auxiliary appointment that we could make or consider, or like an advisory part of that?
The Corridor Commission does not have any standing committees like some of the other boards, so probably, I guess the answer would probably be no.
Right.
It's okay to encourage people to apply again at a later date. We're at a very great moment where people want to serve. That's
Right.
great.
Yeah, it's really
We can
good.
accommodate everybody.
Especially for this board, I've had in the past vacancies sit for a year, and then suddenly I have 2 people interested, so, which is fantastic.
I keep pushing, I guess, in my private conversations, that I would love to see us have younger people involved
Yes,
in
yes.
our efforts. It's not a gray hair kind of a responsibility, but,
And, you know, I think we see that in nonprofits and, you know, historical societies and, I guess young people have lots going on in their
Right.
life, like children and things like that, but.
I guess that torques up, in my mind, we have an opportunity to actually honor somebody a young person who stepped up, regardless of all those other responsibilities that they have going on.
Right, yeah.
So,
So, Dr. Mel, can you tell us a little bit about Craig Hayes?
He was absentee for a while. He was not a large part of the community, but he's an increasing part of the community. He actually goes to my church. He's a Presbyterian. And I've sat in Bible study, not Bible study, but Sunday school with him. And he's got depth. I have no clue. I know that he's a farmer, and he's probably a good farmer, but I don't know how that plays into this. So I'm excited to see him back in circulation and wanting to be involved. On the other end of that, I know Tripp Osbrooks. Tripp actually was a tenant of ours when we sublet space to him when we had the second floor of the post office 100 years ago. Capable, competent, all those things. So, 2 good people. And it's a shame that, I feel like somebody's a winner and somebody is a loser, and I don't want the person feeling like a loser. So maybe that's involved in the conversation that we have with that person who doesn't get it.
Right.
You know?
Well, and like Monica pointed out, Ken pointed out, you know, we have
Right.
one place, but again, in the past, we have always reached out to the other candidates to personally convey, appreciate you folks for, you know, submitting your name. We either make it a suggestion for another committee or say, please come back. There will be, it's 2-year appointments, you know.
Right.
Please, quickly, there will be an opportunity. So we just tee that person up for the next time, so it's not quite the kind of loser thing particularly, you know.
And how do we handle that? Is that a personal conversation, or is that an email, or a letter, or?
Depends on who recruited it.
Well, I mean, speaking from the boards that I staff, it's usually an email.
Mhm.
And bear in mind, I didn't really realize, but we evidently have a policy that these applicants are only valid for this round, and they need to reapply.
Right, yeah.
So if we're talking about putting them in kind of a bullpen for next time, somebody's got to let them know.
Remember
that
to reach out.
It takes a reapplication, or we change what that policy is.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would like to see maybe a question on the application change. If you are not selected for this position, would you be interested in being considered for others, something like that sort. But right now,
That's a great
anyone we don't
suggestion.
choose is gone. And unless they reapply, either through request from one of us or them knowing the policy, it won't be automatically reconsidered.
Mhm.
So,
I was a personnel director at one time, and I was real sensitive to the kinds of letters that all the people who didn't get the job would receive. And I think maybe a private conversation with him about the other possibilities and everything would be a way to handle that, so that it's not just a standard rejection letter that he gets. And I would be willing to do that and be his, I guess maybe his, I'm going to call it liaison, I don't know, in regard to future kinds of opportunities.
Sure.
Because like when we do urban redevelopment, maybe he could be involved in that in some way. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
What his interests are.
This one's an interesting situation because he's a county resident, so.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
some of the other boards, like Preservation Commission, you couldn't serve on the Preservation Commission as a county resident.
Yeah.
But the Cemetery Commission, you can. And so, green space.
Okay.
You can? I'd have to go back and look at that one, since they're not on the,
I was noticing that there are people on DDA that might not be city residents.
That's
And
correct.
I know that wasn't one of the qualifications that they had to have a.
yeah, we'll.
We're coming,
yeah.
we're going there. Can we
That's
yeah,
a
wrap
whole-
that's
this?
next up.
We got
That
two
is-
more. Can we wrap?
That's a
this?
different can of worms, because that is dictated by the state, the qualifications, but we definitely have a couple of questions about that later.
Gotcha. I am fine with Tripp,
Okay,
and I will accept the conversation with
good.
Craig.
Thank you, Dr.
That's
Mal.
good of
My
you.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and I still feel a responsibility to
Sure.
send him something, so
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be doing
Please
that.
do. And
Okay.
you and I can talk about when that's
Okay.
going to be sent.
But I do like the suggestion, Eric, which was, how are we changing the form? What did you?
Just something where they can check a box, would you like to be considered for this position at the next opening? Are there other
Yeah.
other options, other commissions you might be interested in serving on? Something like that, just to kind of let them know that is an option. But
Would something like that work, Ken?
I mean, we could put that on there. I'm trying to figure out what does that mean? So they don't
Yeah.
get appointed, and then we looked and say, oh, they are willing to serve, to do another
Uh-huh.
commission or committee, and
It's a soft skill thing. We're
Yeah.
having that conversation, but it's not
Yeah.
hard to put a box on.
Right, there you go.
yeah.
Well,
I mean,
it is
as
more
you
in
know
our-
from the past, when people don't get appointed, like I said, we have their number. We know
Yeah.
somebody's already interested in some sort of service we're not going to let
Right.
that go.
Right.
Or at least something to let them know that if we don't change the policy, they should at least know that if you want to be considered again for this or other positions, you need to reapply.
Yeah, and
'Cause right now, I don't
I will
think-
point out when they hit that, click that submit button, it pops up a thing and it actually says,
Oh, yeah.
let's list that out. This is for this time only if you need to reapply. So
Mhm.
assuming people read that next screen that pops up,
I
which
did
they
not
may-
know
may
that
not.
popped up like
No.
that. Good.
And it is also on the website. We can embed it actually in the actual form. Have them check off that I understand this before they can submit it, so.
So on the Downtown Development Authority Board, are you looking for people with certain skills that they need? Do you
So are we
say-
done with,
I was gonna say,
Okay.
are we finished?
are we done with
Yeah, I think
corridor?
pretty much
I think we have
said-
consensus.
Yep, I think we're good.
Okay,
Good.
so you guys know when you have your council meeting, you're just
That's it,
gonna-
we're good.
That's it.
You're
Okay.
gonna go ahead and put
Do
that.
these go, will these go on the consent agenda, the ones that we are able to?
If we are making the suggestion now, I mean, it's public information, so
Right.
you got a nod from the council that's,
Okay, okay.
I'm trying to think how that would be shown on,
well, that,
Well, you'd have to put the name out to the side. you
Okay.
know, So.
okay.
okay.
All right. All right.
You want to sit up here? Because these are going to be a whole bunch of questions that I don't.
Well, you don't have to go away. I need handhold. I actually reviewed this with DDA yesterday. Just so y'all know, some of the questions I'm anticipating y'all might ask me, I'm going to go ahead and answer if that's okay. One is DDA, I encourage them not to express a preference because y'all do the appointing. If they specifically liked somebody on the list of, I think there's like 5 or 6 candidates, that they should reach out to you individually, but they shouldn't lobby the board or put some pressure on your back to appoint someone specific. So they don't have a recommendation. We don't do that with any of the boards. 2, they are the only board that is appointed to have a conflict of interest by state law, and they have some pretty specific state requirements that mean who does what. And so I have gone back over at the request of Councilmember Joyce and looked back at who's filling which seats. There's only one candidate that's precluded, and I think Ken identified him. And then we looked at all the other candidates, their current residency, their current business or employment in the downtown, and the state requirements. All of the others meet the requirements. Y'all choose who you want. DDA doesn't have any thoughts on it, and if the only thought I have on it is we're losing a finance person. If there's somebody on there that you feel is stronger in finance, that's great. I don't know any of the people, so I don't have a personal preference. Whoever you give us, DDA is going to work with. So their terms are longer. They're not a 2-year term. By state law, they're set at 4-year terms, so just be aware.
But we appoint to 3-year terms.
No, sir, you appoint. All of the terms are 4-year terms.
I have it listed as 3 because
Oh.
I was gonna say, yeah, it
Oh,
says
I'm
3.
sorry. It is a 4-year term by state law.
I mean, it's,
That's just,
okay, so, but.
I'm sorry I missed it on the handout, Ken. It is 4 years by state law, always has been since 1987.
Just tell him it was digitally garbled and you did.
It wasn't because there's not all these like scrambled letters. It was not garbled. It's just I missed it, or I'm not going to say Ken missed it because that would be uncomfortable.
So on that, we're showing one unexpired term from July 2023 to the end of June 2026. 25, 26, that's only 3 years.
I understand that. If they're filling the unexpired term,
We list the term as what the term is,
okay.
which is why it's starting at 2023. So would this go to 2027, or did it start in 2022?
I'd have to look at the agenda because a couple years ago when we had this problem, I believe somebody suggested to pull the monkey off the back of staff that all the terms would be printed on the agendas, and so we started putting the terms on the agenda. When you make an appointment, it's not about how long they're serving as much as it is filling the term that's set under state law. So if it's a 4-year term, but Stacy left after a year, then they're only going to serve 3 years, and I can assure you, based on my training, it is a 4-year term. I will find out the conclusion date to make sure Deborah has that. There are 5 people, and DDA does not care who it is.
So
I
what
mean, they may
hotel-
care, but they'll contact you individually.
So what hotel do you prefer?
Yeah, I'm definitely sleeping at a hotel tonight. There's just no doubt. Jay, I can provide babysitting services so you can get a good night's sleep if you'll put me up tonight.
All right, so it sounds, we have an unexpired term, so what we're appointing is someone to serve until
To fill the
2026.
unexpired term, and I will confirm the date of conclusion of Ms. Bassett's original term as appointed.
So Ms. Bassett has been there a year?
Ms. Bassett has served more than one term. I think this was her second term, and she served 1 year into it. Her father passed, and she's changing her lifestyle a little bit.
So we have 3 years left, but the term is actually for 4 years, am I correct?
No.
When I reported
No.
to the state,
Ken is saying, yeah.
4-year terms, 3 years left.
yes.
So
That-
this is a 4-year term, but the person that served is only going to have 3 years left into that term.
That's correct.
Okay.
And just to be clear, so y'all don't think I'm misleading you, there are 2 people that they are appointed for a 4-year term, but their term is tied to very specific things. So if we ever have an elected official serve, they get a 4-year term, but the minute they're out of office, their DDA term ends. And we can have up to 1 person that lives somewhere in the state, provided that they own a downtown business. And the minute they give up the downtown business, it doesn't matter what term y'all appointed them to, their term ends. Right. All right? So, and that currently is held by Ben Wigby. So if Ben were to sell his business, he's
Term
off.
ends.
That's correct.
Okay.
And it's just like them resigning or leaving office. The term is still the same. You would be filling an unexpired term.
Okay.
Okay. Just to be clear, because I'm that girl.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know any of these folks either personally, but in reading their applications and especially the part, what do you feel will be your biggest asset? To me, it seems like Mrs. Cawley or Mr. Hudson have a wealth of knowledge in those categories that might help replace the finance person or the accounting person that left.
Yeah. Stacy was an accountant. We still have 2 bankers, so I'm not saying it has to be a finance person. Whoever y'all like is fine.
That's what I was going to say. I thought it was already 2 bankers that are still on DDA as well.
There's a retired banker and a current banker. Yes, ma'am.
Exactly. I don't know anyone on this list except for Chantel Carter White. My thought process would be more diversity on this commission. I know Chantel personally. She is, you can look at her
Chantel
paperwork.
would be my preference because of her age.
Well, you took it away from me, so I was going to say we need more diversity. Color as well, because this commission doesn't have a lot of color. Sorry, Pastor Benford, I know you are African American. You are a little lighter in color, but anyway.
Oh, no, now don't go there.
No. I'm just talking, but Chantel, I think, would be a good asset to this commission. And it would definitely add more diversity, and it would add the age preference. I think that Eric was talking about earlier, or Betsy, I cannot
It
remember.
was Dr. Mal.
Dr. Mal, sorry. So I would recommend Chantel Carter White.
I could get behind that.
I've got one question before I get into, my thoughts on that. Is the state requirement that we need 4 of the 7 to be, quote, owner-operators. I know we have 3. One of them's here today, Pastor Benford. Julie and Ben are clearly. Do we have existing on our DDA the 4th person, so
Yes,
we
sir.
can
That would
remove
be
that?
That would be Bob Bell.
Okay. Now,
He's the operator at
explain
the
to
Bank
me
of
how
Madison.
Bob Bell is an owner-operator of the Bank of Madison.
Because the state recognizes that, and we've asked that question before, the state recognizes that there is not an individual owner of a bank. So Clifton Haynes held that same position as the vice president of operations for 12 years on the DDA. So we've asked that question, and that's been answered by the state.
So presumably as a shareholder, that qualifies as.
Or as an executive officer of the bank.
So under the definition, so 3B, it has wording that's a little bit different than owner-operator. I think it's more what you're talking about.
Yes.
It says in the judgment of the governing body, that's us, people that have or represent a party who has an economic interest in redevelopment and revitalization. that's really not the same thing as what I consider to be an owner-operator. Is that wording from the state ordinance?
I think I clipped it directly from the ordinance. There are communities that have a one block downtown, and they don't have enough people to draw from. So there are parts of the interpretation that are deliberately vague, so that smaller communities can put people up. And so they
Okay.
broadened out, they added so that you could live outside of the jurisdiction several years ago, and then they broadened it so an elected official could serve several years ago. That was in 2017, I think. So they recognize that some cities that are small don't have as many choices as we do. So,
Okay.
but a majority of the owners, when they do training and the attorney does the training, the majority of owners have to have a dispositive economic development interest in the downtown.
Okay, and so, in other words, we've met the requirement already. The candidate we're appointing doesn't have to have that connection to the downtown business.
That is correct.
Because we've met the four.
You've already met your majority.
Okay. All right. So my comment would be I favor Chantel White also for a couple of reasons. I just wanted to kind of briefly go into those. She's already served she lives in the city. I think that's a value. She served on a commission before for a number of years, so she's a dedicated public servant in that respect. She's been on housing, I think, for 4 or 5 years. She also, I think it's important to remember, she lives in what is about to be the new Dura for East Madison. And to Carrie's point, I think it's important to have people in those areas representing their communities as we make these decisions about redevelopment. And that's a really important thing, I
That would
think.
be staff's number one recommendation for her,
Yeah.
is because when DDA exercises URA powers, we need folks that are representing that. But there's not a makeup required for URAs.
And I will add, as I look at these, we do have some wonderful applications, my goodness. 3 of them are from my district. One of them has the wrong district number. That person is also in my district. So 4 of the 6. I guess I didn't make much of an impression on them as if they don't know I'm their guy. So anyway, I mean, some really good candidates for sure, with some really good, good. We need to keep these on file and let them know their
Well, so one
their
of the things I
value.
would add here, kind of echoing Dr. Mal and yourself, is that DDA does actually have 2 to 3 active committees. At the DDA meeting yesterday, Ben Wigby asked for the contact information and the applications of everybody, including whoever you don't appoint. They need labor.
Yes.
And so, and I shouldn't say labor, they need volunteers that want to work on good things. And so every one of them will be contacted to see if they are interested in one of the subgroups.
Yes.
So
Good.
you're not leaving anybody on the table. Just be aware. They have very active committees, and they will be engaged.
But anyway, my winnowing it down, which is not easy with all the qualified candidates, would be to choose Chantel.
I'm Chantel as well.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, not put on the consent agenda. Chantel White, good, thank you so much.
Y'all done with me?
Okay, thanks, Monica. Thanks, Ken, appreciate
We
that
got
so
one
much.
more,
Oh,
don't
we have one more though.
What is it?
Housing,
Housing.
Housing
There's
Opportunity Commission.
2 applicants for housing.
Molly is now staffing housing.
Hi, Molly.
Hey, Marley, how are you?
That's it? That's all you got? I don't really know either.
I don't need it.
I
Either,
would-
I don't have much, yeah,
I
what
just
do you-
would comment, so,
Please.
Mr. Juarez is in my district. I do not know him. He lives around the corner from me, but I certainly appreciate, I mean, we have such little Hispanic representation. I think it'd be, I mean, when I saw his application, I was like, really? Oh, my gosh, I'm just
And I'll
pretty
add,
exciting.
he was actually, he came out for one of our transportation plan town halls. Just, he was interested and wanted to be here and reviewed the plan and provided some really constructive, specific comments about things he wanted to see, which was exciting. We don't often get that. And he, came back and said he was extremely interested in serving. We mentioned that housing had a vacancy. He was extremely excited about that. He owns property on Hanover, which is also, to your point about getting representation on our DDA/URA in the East Madison URA.
Yes.
He is in the South Madison URA.
Yes.
And the housing team is very instrumental in programming and project development within our URA. So they kind of, the DDA/URA and housing team really work hand in hand in those areas for a decade or more. So I think, yeah. it's a
Also,
great
just to
candidate.
kind of model, I mean, we need more diverse representation.
He's also
And,
young, yeah.
And just to kind of represent the Hispanic community way and maybe even generate more interest in participation from other members of that community. I just think we just, that's a hole that we.
Molly did the recruitment. Molly recruited him when he attended.
Yeah, I did say he was excited. He was excited after I called him and said, do you?
Yay, love that, Molly, thank you.
Well, that fits right in with what we recommended before, to have staff, council members, have a lot of people making
Yeah.
recommendations and recruitments, really. Does it meet Councilmember Malinowski's requirement for young? Is he a young guy?
Yes, he
He
is
is.
young.
There you go, Jim. Younger than us?
He's like younger than 30.
I was going to say, I think we need to be real careful about how we say those kinds of things, just for the record. because,
Age,
Okay.
yeah.
I think there's,
I was being flippant, I'm sorry.
now that I'm officially elderly, I'm sensitive.
What do you mean now?
Dr.
I
Mayor,
think
you're
we-
not
I would
elderly,
be-
you're seasoned.
Yeah, and we would be equally as cognizant of it if it were the opposite. If we were only 20 and 30-somethings representing, we'd say, this is a huge disparity in our demographics versus
Right.
who's serving. And so we would say the same thing on either end of the spectrum or in the middle, so.
I think it's important.
Mr. Mayor, I'll add that Ed Karpinski, the other applicant in this, is in my district. I know Ed some. I think he's a great guy. He's shown interest. He's been involved in the last 3 Habitat homes. I also know Kenny. Kenny is a very nice young man. I've worked with him professionally. He's worked with me on some projects, and I think he'd be great as
And
well. So.
just like the DDA/URA, the housing team has 3 very, very active committees, and they are excited to kind of get back. They sort of had a little bit of a hiatus, and they are raring to go. So those 2 individuals will be reached out to and asked what their preference might be in terms of service on any of those as an ad hoc committee member.
Great.
Great.
So I say, I'd like to suggest that we go with Kenny, if everybody is all right with that.
I am.
Okay. Got a nod?
Yep.
Consent agenda? Ms.
Yes.
Kennon?
Okay,
Thank
how
you so
hard
much.
was that? I mean, really? All right. No.
And we'll not forget about our call meeting after this meeting.
Right. I
But
think
how was
that
that
in.
any
that
different than what we
consent
would have
agenda?
done at the regular meeting?
Oh, no, we would have had ballots and got, I mean, it would have been, the last time we did that would
Oh,
have been
yeah, that's true.
ballads. Yeah, this is just, yeah.
Okay.
Good, all right.
So we, that ends this work session agenda. We go into a call meeting. I guess we need a motion and a second to go into our call meeting.
So moved.
Second.
And no discussion, all in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, we in our call meeting. Mr. Porter, I think it's your meeting.
The agenda for the call.
Yes, still morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Is that an editorial comment?
I just had to throw that out there.
Thank you, Gene.
Had to liven it up a little bit more. So anyway, just to kind of make it quick, we're just here. Georgia Pacific last year offered to give a $5,000 donation. Their large push now is a give back to their community, not only in jobs but as in helping finance things and do other things with money that's available for them. And one of those is giving back to fire departments. This is same offer's been given to the county fire department, which I think they've accepted also. It's a $5,000 donation they're wanting to give, and just as a part of our policies and procedures with the city is coming before you to ask for approval to accept that $5,000. and it helps us get things that are above and beyond our budget. Last year, we were able to buy a few intake valves that are fairly expensive for these fire trucks that were in need of replacement. But we had to prioritize some other things in our budget above these, but this helped meet that gap and solve that. And again, we'd do the same thing with those monies this year, is look to meet gaps that the budget can't withstand. So
And
that's
this
what
is
we're here
Georgia
for.
Pacific?
Georgia Pacific, yes,
Would
sir.
you, with the mutual aid agreement with the county, our department could very well be responding to fires up at their facility?
Absolutely, they are in our automatic aid agreement, actually, not even within our mutual aid, they're in our automatic aid agreement, which means we are first call automatically with that.
Is there any specific equipment that might be useful specifically to their property?
Well, the most specific equipment that we have that the county doesn't have, which is an advantage to them, is our ladder truck that goes out. But as far as equipment that's with this, it would just be a supportive, like upgrading our nozzles or something like
Okay.
that to get into some better nozzles, more modern nozzles that use current fire flows and stuff like that, which would be an asset to use there.
Am I still on the bad wall in your fire department?
You've moved from the dartboard to, I'm just kidding.
It's pictured in the closet now. Permanent, right? It's permanent, right? You don't ever remove it. There's no
He's in the closet now.
redemption.
You think you're making a motion to accept this, Mike?
It's been a couple of years now. I'm just wondering.
It'll
if
change
there's-
your wall.
I'm just checking.
No, everything's great. We thank you. We can't thank you enough as a fire department for the support that you give us. You know, and I just spoke with Kiwanis Club yesterday, and some of the questions in there was, you know, we hear all the time that people question spending $1.7 million on a ladder truck. Well, I'm here to tell you, just a month ago, right across the street, was that truck more than paid for itself that day.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it in action.
And thank you for that.
So, yeah, and thank y'all. I mean, you're the reason why we have it.
Okay, if we
All
want
right.
to allow
We're
the
gonna
fire
accept.
department to accept this gift, we get a motion from the council.
So moved to accept a donation from Georgia Pacific.
Second?
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none, vote unanimous. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for what you do.
Thank you, Gene. Appreciate it.
That is this meeting. If I could get a motion to go into executive session briefly to discuss personnel.
And if anyone's interested, Jennifer very promptly has sent out at my request the list of the current CVB board members, including our ex officio Jim Malinowski and an official Gene Porter. So it's on your email, I see.
I make a motion to go into executive session. That's what he asked for, right? I was gonna say, I thought didn't he ask for that?
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
So.
I will take that back.
Well, we just don't vote. We just
We
don't.
don't, we don't
We
vote
just
on
don't
it.
vote.
I'll take
Yeah,
it
we
back.
don't vote. And so you can ask.
Reverse
call for the
that.
vote. So, Mr. Mayor, you can call for the vote,
And
because we've had a motion to second, so we've got something on the table we
Okay,
gotta
so-
satisfy.
I just
Withdraw
withdrew
the
it.
motion.
I just
Okay,
withdrew
got
the
it.
motion.
All right.
Let's go home.
Wonderful.
Oh, you did make the motion.
I did. I made the motion, I just withdrew it.
Thank you. You did fine. Thank
Oh,
you.
today was long. Jesus, in the morning.
Are we
So-
Are we
so it was
done?
long?
It was long.
You have made it long.